Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Right over the target. At least that's what some people are saying, because somebody had their Twitter account banned, or so we understand. David Dixon will join us a little later in the broadcast, I believe, to talk about that. And it's all related to that ostrich farm. And I know we're tired of talking about it, but we will give this at least a moment's attention tonight because it warrants it. And speaking of things over the target, missiles still raining down on both sides in the Middle East tonight, not to mention, of course, the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, and the world is waiting to see what Donald Trump does. All that, and RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Kristi Noem. No, Tulsi Gabbard wasn't there. But we're going to talk about her tonight too. But Kristi Noem paid a trip to a biolab. And the things that transpired following that, pretty weird. So we've got biolab stuff going on. If it's not out in Edgewood, BC, it's down on the other side of the border. So we'll get into that a bit tonight too. Just so much weird stuff going on out there. And the MAGA family is falling apart. And it's all because the peace presidency is turning into one of conflict, both internally and maybe around the world. Let's just hope it doesn't escalate and get too far out of control. All that and more coming up on the other side of this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are Maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So we have an intensifying conflict in the Middle East. Israel says it is trying to stop Iran from producing nuclear weapons, says it has struck uranium enrichment sites after the two countries launched another barrage of missiles at each other overnight. And President Trump is weighing options while his base of support seems to be suffering from division. It seems to be coming apart. And even before this, it seemed to be coming apart in many respects. There are growing signs that the U.S. could enter this conflict, and President Trump is demanding Iran's unconditional surrender, as many of you no doubt have heard. But later he told reporters, I may do it, I may not do it. Nobody knows what I'm going to do. And indeed, the entire world is watching and waiting to see what Trump does, if anything. And I'm not sure that he has to do anything, but it seems like he's getting ready to do something because aircraft carriers, military assets are all being moved into position throughout the Middle East. Some still on route. And here's what Trump had to say today during a news conference.
You've been answered questions about whether you are moving closer or you believe the U.S. is moving closer to striking Iranian nuclear facilities. Where's your mindset on that?
I can't say that, right? You don't seriously think I'm going to answer that question? Will you strike the Iranian nuclear component? And what time exactly, sir? Sir, would you strike it? Would you please inform us so we can be there and watch? I mean, you don't know that I'm going to even do it. You don't know. I may do it. I may not do it. I mean, nobody knows what I'm going to do. I can tell you this, that Iran's got a lot of trouble, and they want to negotiate. And I said, why didn't you negotiate with me before? All this death and destruction. Why didn't you negotiate? I said to the people, why didn't you negotiate with me 2 weeks ago? You could have done fine. You would have had a country. It's very sad to watch this. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It's so, everyone thought it was going to be the reverse. I didn't think so. And I was telling them, you gotta do something. You gotta negotiate. And at the end, last minute, they said, no, we're not going to do that, and they got hit. Remember 60 days, and then came the 60. 61 is going to become a very famous number. That was one hell of a hit. That first hit. That was one hell of a hit. Not sustainable, to be honest. That's where it ended. It ended on the first night. Yes.
Is it too late?
So a lot of people speculating, saying, oh, this is regime change underway. And it wouldn't surprise me a bit if that's where it goes. Both Trump and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have raised the idea of assassinating Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, with Trump saying yesterday that he was an easy target. Trump's call for Iran's surrender is threatening and ridiculous, Khamenei said in a statement that was read out on state television earlier today. He also warned that U.S. intervention would cause irreparable damage. Iran, its Revolutionary Guard, in Loristan province arrested 5 individuals, saying they were working for Mossad, the Israeli spy agency. So things are developing quickly over in the Middle East. And while all that is going on, we're seeing fractures in Trump's base of support, and even among people who have been very close to him. Most notable, I would say, is, at least within the last couple of days, is Tulsi Gabbard. Seems like she's falling out of favor. We saw on Air Force One during the media gaggle that he did there, when asked about Tulsi Gabbard and her assertion some weeks ago that Iran is not developing nuclear weapons. And Trump snapped back yesterday at the reporter saying, I don't care what she says. And there are reports that he's losing confidence in Tulsi Gabbard and is considering removing her entire office. And that's according to a report in Politico after she made this X post warning that political elite and warmongers are carelessly fomenting fear and tensions between nuclear powers, placing the world on the brink of nuclear annihilation. I won't play the entire video, but in this video, Tulsi Gabbard, I did watch it earlier today. I have a clip here, and I understand Trump has just gone ballistic over this, saying that Tulsi Gabbard has gone off message and reprimanded her for doing this. And well, I'll run this clip and then I'll just comment on it a little bit more on the other side.
As we stand here today, closer to the brink of nuclear annihilation than ever before, political elite and warmongers are carelessly fomenting fear and tensions between nuclear powers. Perhaps it's because they are confident that they will have access to nuclear shelters for themselves and for their families that regular people won't have access to. So it's up to us, the people, to speak up and demand an end to this madness. We must reject this path to nuclear war and work toward a world where no one has to live in fear of a nuclear holocaust. As we stand here,
the problem with this kind of messaging is the same problem we have with just the peace movement overall, is that it seems like those calls for peace and the calls to end the march toward a nuclear holocaust are always directed at just one side, the United States. I don't hear really equal pressure being applied to Russia or even other countries that possess nuclear weapons so much. It's always the US. And in this video, Tulsi Gabbard goes on and rehashes the history of World War II and the way the United States dropped 2 nuclear bombs on Japan. All true, but context matters. And I wish that avoiding a nuclear war was as simple as saying, oh, we're just going to give up all our nukes. But it isn't that simple in a world where you have multiple countries with nuclear weapons and more pursuing them, including apparently Iran, although this is an issue that is taking us into the fog of war because there's all kinds of propaganda or maybe truth circulating out there. I've seen reports in the past couple of days saying, that Iran doesn't have any nuclear weapons, that it's not pursuing nuclear weapons, that it's not true. And yet, at the same time, some of these same streamers, same influencers have been talking for months, if not the past couple of years, especially about why Iran would be justified in acquiring nuclear weapons. And the IAEA, which monitors nuclear programs in participating countries, has indicated that Iran has recently been denying access to some of their facilities, which gives rise to suspicion. And the fact that we've had these reports from the IAEA over time monitoring the program there indicates that indeed they are doing some work of some kind on nuclear weapons there. On the other hand, even CNN has been producing, or they produced last night apparently a compilation video of since the late 90s of Netanyahu talking about Iran and Iran's desires to acquire nuclear weapons to sort of balance the power structure in the Middle East. But it just isn't simple, is it? Especially now, because you have more and more countries with nuclear weapons and Trump saying, no, Iran can't have nukes. Simple as that. And he's saying that his base of support, his base, his main supporters say, no, we don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. Here, I'll have another clip from today. Run that for you. While others within the MAGA camp are saying they just don't want to get involved in, they don't want the United States involved in another war.
Close the door on meeting with them?
No.
Okay, so it's still open to them coming here in your
Yeah, I mean, they asked if they could come. We'll see if that happens. It's not that easy for them to come. They can't get out. You know, they're in Iran, and in one case, the guy wanted to come so badly, but he can't get out because there's bombs dropping all over the place.
Have you seen the Tucker Carlson and Senator Ted Cruz interview? Close the door on meeting with them?
Talking about, I guess, Iranian officials coming to the U.S. to talk about the war, to negotiate, make a deal, I guess. And all kinds of video out there, man. And difficult to know what's real, what's new, what's old, what's regurgitated, recycled. Here's, this post here says Israel is losing the war it started. It does not want to walk away from the historic opportunity to destroy Iran. Thus, the U.S. deterring the war is guaranteed. The exit strategy without ground troops. Will the U.S. murder Iranians until there is regime change or capitulation? So that's the post. I'll show you, well, it's right here. Doing a little Twitter scroll for you tonight. And then this video. Within the first hours, I was seeing posts saying the Iron Dome is failing. The Iron Dome is failing. But is it? I mean, some missiles obviously getting through. But how many? Not entirely clear. Here's another post. Sources confirm Iran's missile went into Earth's external atmosphere property similar to an ICBM. Heavy U.S. jet activity after unusual Iranian missile launch over Iraq and Syria. Brits also airborne a Kia. Is it true? Well, don't know. I think it seems plausible. You see what you're seeing in the sky there. That's supposed to be a missile from Iran at high speed heading out of the Earth's atmosphere, showing that they have advanced missile technology. And I've seen multiple angles on that tonight, so it seems like it's likely true. Here's the other angle here. Bring this up for you. It's the second angle I found. And there it is. But I'll tell you, that looks a lot like a SpaceX launch. It looks just like a SpaceX launch. So again, it's hard to know if what you're looking at is accurate. Who the heck knows? Going to take a short break. Come back. Lots more to share. Stay with me.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Speaking of what's real, what isn't real, some people are saying this guy here, he's being accused tonight of not actually being there. Maybe standing in front of a fake background. I don't know.
Now we're getting the incoming fire as we speak. You can hear the air raid sirens that are sounding across central Israel. My cameraman's going to pan out here slightly so that you can see any of the incoming missile fire and attempts to intercept these missiles. Just stay with us here, and we will update you on the situation here in Tel Aviv. But again, the Iranians are currently launching a ballistic missile barrage at Israel's second largest city of Tel Aviv. There are currently millions of people in bomb shelters right now trying to get out of the line of fire. Guys?
Trey, stay safe first and foremost.
Right now we're getting...
There is something, I have to say, there's something odd about that. It just looks weird. Not saying he isn't there. I'm just saying it looks weird. Some people are saying he isn't there. Is he there? Can somebody please tell me, is that guy actually there? Or is that like a green screen fake background? I don't know. I just don't know. This is getting terrible. Just absolutely terrible. Hang on a second here. I'm going to play this clip from Trump here too. Everybody's making a big deal out of the color of his ties. It all comes down to this maritime common law QAnon stuff. I don't pay much attention to the colors of his ties. Although I will say, I think he plays with these people, sends them messages, gets involved in the psyop by changing his ties because he knows he's triggering people, sending cues. Oh, Q.
Look, they should have made the deal. I had a great deal for them. They should have made that deal. 60 days we talked about it, and in the end they decided not to do it, and now they wish they did it. And they want to meet, but it's a little late to meet, but they want to meet, and they want to come to the White House. They'll even come to the White House. So we'll see. I may do that, but it's a shame it could have been done the easy way. Look, they.
Also today, Trump was actually involved in a ceremony where they, do I have it? I think I've got the clip here. A ceremony where they put up 2 new flagpoles at the White House. Maybe it's there it is there. I've got it. So this is his post on Truth Social about it. He's got a couple. That's where the reporters in the initial clip that I showed you were asking about the Middle East. But he was showing this. He says this is a gift from him. There's his Truth Social account. And I'll just scroll down. Always got the price buster deal. Did you get your Trump cell phone? Made in China? Anyway. Well, I'll show the video. Oh, here it is. There's his post. So he says, it is my great honor to announce that I will be putting up 2 beautiful flagpoles on both sides of the White House, north and south lawns. It is a gift from me of something which was always missing from this magnificent place. The digging and placement of the poles will begin. It was this morning at 7:30. And flags will be raised at approximately 11. These are the most magnificent poles made. They are tall, tapered, rust-proof, rope inside the pole, and of the highest quality. Hopefully, they will be proudly standing at both sides of the White House for many years to come. So there was that. And let me see. Here, watch your video there, Donald. I'm going to have to go back, I guess. Here we go. See if I get the... Are we there? Scroll down, Rick. Let's see the video of the big, beautiful flagpoles. Down, down, down. Right there. Okay. Go. Big flag.
Now you got the
flag.
You're going to need some help. All right. Hey, it's all on you now. So once you get the fire off, it's viral on the internet.
Go. Big, beautiful flagpoles. Best flagpoles ever in the history of flagpoles. Now, also, a little bit, more weirdness. You know, Kristi Noem, RFK Jr., Rand Paul, they visited, it was a high-profile visit to Integrated Research Facility at Fort Derrick in Frederick, Maryland. This was Monday. So the 3 toured this high-security biolab, a key federal facility for researching infectious diseases, to scrutinize its operations and safety protocols. The visit was spurred by ongoing concerns about biolab safety and transparency, particularly in the light of public debates over the origins of recent pandemics and the role of gain-of-function research. And Kennedy, a vocal critic of certain biolab practices, although not so much what's going on out in Edgewood, British Columbia, it's okay for these kinds of things to be going on in Canada, I guess, but maybe not so much down where he's from. And Gabbard, known for his skepticism of government overreach, joined Senator Paul, who has long questioned the oversight of federally funded biomedical research. Was it Gabbard? No, it was Noem, wasn't it? Let's go to the picture. Yeah, it's Noem. So I have the photo. Let me get this up here. So I was reading from some notes that I pulled, but I thought wasn't accurate. It's Kristi Noem. And I'm bringing this up for a couple of reasons tonight, not the least of which is that after visiting this facility, Noem, I guess, was taken to hospital with some sort of a strange medical allergic reaction to something they were saying yesterday. I have to look up and see where she's at with her condition here tonight. But it sounded like it was something fairly serious. So there they were at this biolab. More weirdness. I mean, how weird is that? Yeah, this weird biolab. And it's been in the news for a little while now. And even Glenn Beck was talking about it. Got the attention of Dr. Jay Bhattacharya. Here, I'm going to run the clip. How weird you want to get? We're getting real weird here tonight. Bio weird.
If this is true, but you tell me. So there was an incident that at a biolab that apparently what happened is there was a personal squabble between people, and a contractor actually punched a hole in the other person's biolab suit. I don't know, to get them sick or whatever, but it was, I mean, is that what happened at that biolab? I think it was at Fort Detrick.
That is exactly what happened.
Oh my
this
gosh.
is something I learned. Yeah, it was. I haven't been scared about anything in this job except for that one thing. I learned about this about 3 weeks in the job. I've been in the job about since the beginning of April. It turns out that there had been a incident a few weeks before. In fact, right before I joined as the NIH director, at Fort Detrick, a part of the lab is run by the National Institute of Health, and it's a BSL-4 lab, which is the highest biosecurity level lab. I mean, the experiments done there are on some really nasty bugs. I mean, Ebola, a whole bunch of viruses and pathogens that if it gets out in the population or if it infects lab workers, it's just really quite deadly.
Right.
What I'd learned was that there had been this incident just a couple of weeks before I joined as the director of the NIH, where a lab worker had cut a hole in a biocontainment suit of a fellow worker with the express intention of getting that worker infected.
Oh my God!
If that had, and apparently it was over some lover stat, or I'm not sure exactly the full details. There's an ongoing investigation of that. What I learned was that the not just that this incident had happened, which actually has a threat not just to the worker but also if that disease gets out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just. I mean, I was absolutely livid. And so what I did is I ordered the lab on an operational shutdown, secured all of the vials of the nasty bugs in a safe environment, made sure that the animals were cared for, that they're in the lab, and we're not gonna open that up until the safety environment on the lab is absolutely solid. The contractor that was overseeing this, I think, did a very lax job. What I learned is that this goes back to the Biden administration, that the safety environment in the lab essentially downplayed these kind of security problems. If you're going to run experiments on these bugs, and I'm not sold that all of these experiments are worth doing, but in any case, if you're going to run them, you have an absolute responsibility to have zero tolerance for safety problems.
Right.
And this is the issue here wasn't just a one-off thing. It was something that was problematic in the safety culture of this lab, where I cannot guarantee that if we reopen the lab right now, that it would be a safe environment. So I won't reopen the lab until that's the case.
Thank you. I mean, shouldn't that person be punished? I mean, that really is attempted murder, and maybe even on a mass scale.
I mean, there's an ongoing investigation, so I probably shouldn't say much more about this.
Okay.
But it's one of those things where, I was actually actively scared when I first heard
Yeah.
this.
I mean, I think Americans are actively scared because none of this stuff should be happening. I mean, we're just an accident or a stupid move or an intentional leak away from mass death.
But the ostriches are okay. Save the ostriches. The COVID bio research lab open air facility. And then everyone was like, Rick, there's this big video thing going on last night. You got to go watch it because they're telling some people like they're telling them the truth about the ostrich farm. They're like, oh yeah, right. I didn't bother. Nothing to. Just because you repeat yourself over and over again, it doesn't make it any more accurate or true. Repetition. Oh, you might convince the people, I guess. That's a marketing technique, but I don't think that honestly, the pro biolab ostrich people are winning the information war. I don't think so. And the reason I say that is I think that the truth that we've been sharing here, along with David Dixon and a few others online, not very many, but it's resonating. The message is getting out. Some people really don't like it, but other people are picking up on it now, and they're sharing the information. So much so that I was sent not just one, but 2 songs that people took time out to create artificially. And I'm going to share one with you now. And then when we come back on the other side of this, David Dixon will join us because some people don't like, it looks like some people don't like what he's been posting about the ostriches all night either. So let me get you this first song up here. People taking note of what's going on out at that open air biolab with those birds. And it ain't pretty, not at all. And so people are like, hang on a second here. What's going on? So yeah, some people are like, they're making music. Katie Pasitny, the daughter of one of the co-owners, Karen Esperson, said something inadvertently, or maybe did Freudian slip, I don't know. But she said that in this social media post, just as she was speaking, off the top of her head, she said the ostriches are a Trojan horse. What does that mean? Well, some people think it's a scary idea that maybe these ostriches are being used to introduce something or bring something in like a Trojan horse. I'm sure most of you know what a Trojan horse is. Well, this song's all about that Freudian slip that Katie came out with the other day in a Facebook post live that she was making. And all the messaging, all the truth is really kind of filtering its way through the system and into posts like this.
Out in the valley near Edgewood where ostriches roam, when truth breaks
I
down.
didn't make this.
Karen and Dave say the government's coming to cull their birds, but behind their cries are some viral words. The story's actually insane, with 2 birds dead. The CFIA came in, tested and said it's H5N1. They call it a farm, but it smells like schemes. The freezer's full of needles and biotech dreams. Here comes a Trojan ostrich rolling through the gates with vaccine, nasal sprays, and bags full of fate. They've got masks in the saddlebags, candies in hand. It's a biolab covered with feathers. You won't feel the jab when the birds are in disguise. It's not a horse, it's a fowl full of lies. That's a Trojan ostrich, wide-eyed and bold, selling biotech health for a side of gold. Then came the grifters with cameras and fanfare. Drea from Rebel News rode in on a mic. Welcome to Ostrich Fest 2025. She declared we're going live tonight. Big Bear and Jim Kerr was there. They cried for a modest fee and set up camp with 3 fundraisers to save the birds. With 220,000 in donations well within reach, Kelly and Lawrence danced to Shadow Davis preached. The Trojan ostrich strutted down the streets. With the drone and the dog shooting holes in the dreams, 2 birds dead. Katie cried with dry dread. No footage, no feathers, just tails from her head. Government convoys from Lumbee, or maybe from Needles. We got drones at 2 a.m., 4 feet wide with sniper rifles. Shouted Jim, wait, Katie, was it Needles or Lumbee? We gave conflicting reports to our ostrich sheeple. With the Trojan ostrich plucked from its spin, folks started wondering what game they're playing in. We saw 20 white vans just yesterday, or maybe it was 1. I don't know. They drove away, said Jim. The government's scared of our ostrich minds, no closer to facts than Pfizer finds. These birds hold the antidote to tyranny. We're not anti-vax, we're vax-curious. And our nasal sprays are quite luxurious. No proof, who needs it? Just trust our vibes and donate now to keep our truth alive. Says Jim, someone hacked our GoFundMe with negative energy. Yells Big Bear. If you question our narrative, you're not part of the mission, proclaims Katie. Whispers flew faster than a bird with rage. The land ain't theirs, it's just a rented stage. Court docs stacked like unpaid fines. Deals gone sour in tangled lines. Every time a skeptic questions them, they get blocked, deleted, and digitally gassed. Truth doesn't matter, just money, online clicks, and a magical cure made of ostrich tricks. Here rides a Trojan ostrich with a candy that cures unpunishable crimes. Nasal spray justice comes with a peppermint drop for the vax hesitant who'd rather not. Katie stands firm with a militant grin, says we're leading the war, let the change begin. Don't trust the needle, just trust in the bird. These ostriches are the catalyst for change. They're our Trojan horse leading the war. Katie said it! It really is the weirdest psyop you've ever heard. When the feathers fall, will everyone be buying what's being sold?
Okay, enough of that. I just can life get any stranger, David? This is bizarre.
Yeah, I've heard the two of them, Universal Ostrich Studios and
yeah,
and that one. I mean, you've got to add some fun into it because it is just that crazy.
It's insane. And Glenn Beck worried, talking to Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, like they're sounding the alarm over this biolab in the States, worried that, if anything gets out of that place, it's the end of humanity. But up in Edgewood, no permits needed. Do whatever you want. Inject the birds. Anybody can do it. You can set up a biolab in your backyard. What are you worried about, you Canadians? You crazy Canadians, save the ostriches, the lab birds.
I mean, he's the head of NIH. He funds now, just like Fauci did, these research labs all over the world, including Wuhan and everywhere else. And he's the one who signed the letter with RFK to say, save those birds.
Yeah.
Why? And why? Because there's a US company that's involved with the farm. And, there is definitely some panic going on though around the temperature seems to have definitely been turned up by people, paying attention. But there's more to it than what they're saying at the farm. There's a lot of distractions going on.
Yes.
And there was some more sort of deeper connections that were appearing that seemed to explain why such high profile people in the US were involved, why high profile people in the Alberta government are involved. I mean, the irony of it is that Lyle Oberg, when he wrote the letter to the CFAA's directly to their agent, not just a general letter, he signed off as the head of AHS, the board chair, with their logo, and he actually wasn't at that point. He'd already been sort of let go from AHS, or has he? I mean, he was appointed by Danielle Smith. That's another black hole that seems to be around healthcare here in Alberta. And the connections here are very significant, along with Guelph University, University of BC. So a lot of Canadian input that have been involved in some scandals throughout COVID with the professors from those locations. And it's, again, I said, for this to have been a scam, just to set up some GoFundMe right now, there was an awful lot of background work done going back an awful long way.
Yeah, and I was picking up on a few of the lyrics in there, and there was a reference to Jim Kerr saying that the GoFundMe for the Ostrich Lab biofarm had been hacked, but I
No,
I don't know.
that's actually I mean, that was a talking point we heard in during the convoy,
Yeah.
and some of the other scams. They try and pretend that they haven't got the money, and there's Willem Makis was talking about that on his, that, oh, it's been frozen, it's been hacked, oh, Daniel Smith's trying to steal it from me, and they're all trigger words to get people who follow them to donate more money. Oh, send it to me by direct email now, because the GoFundMe, because they pay a fee in the GoFundMe, so if they can get people to switch over to the direct email, they make more money. They don't declare it. It sort of disappears into a black hole of money, so nobody knows how much they're getting.
Yeah.
And there's it's funny that there's a lot coming out from the past, and there was definitely, I don't know whether anybody saw it. It's worth it for the giggles. It would have been better if you watched it while it was live, because you could have seen Shadow Davis deleting comments in real time that were not to his liking, but they were on last night. Dr. Stephen Pellick, and Katie, and Shadow Davis, and it was hilarious when Shadow Davis comments and says, "Oh, Katie, you weren't, trying to make glowing masks at all, were you?" Obviously trying to dispel the connection with Sakamoto and the World Economic Forum and the glowing ostrich mask. And she said, "Oh, no, that's all right. We were never doing that." And then Stephen Pellick pops in and says, "But actually, that would be a good idea." To actually, because masks wouldn't work. He then forgets what an N95 mask is called, and calls it an N951, and then had a few other goes. It's like, okay, I hope you know, because he's got his own biolab in the University of BC, and he doesn't know what an N95 mask is. That's scary. But he then starts talking about the talking point of chain link fences and viruses.
Oh, speaking of the mask, did you see, or did I inform you of the interview I did with the former vice president of operations of
I watched
Breathe Medical? Yeah.
I
mean, that kind of sums it up, kind of in a lot of ways, what was going on there.
Yeah, I mean, what is clearly been the case is this farm, whatever they have done, they've been attempting to be part of the cash cow that became COVID, in every single way that every single supporter of the farm hated, and still to this day says they hate. Except, as I say, on Shadow Davis yesterday, they were pushing testing and PCR tests and masks, and let's get some glowing masks with ostrich antigens sprayed on them, and it was just.
If you don't mind, I've got that. I've actually got that clip. I'm going to run that little clip with the interview that I did with the former vice president of operations of Breathe Medical. This is a company that was set up with a bunch of government money in Canada at the beginning of the pandemic. They signed a letter of intent. The letter was filed as part of court filings to show what the farm was doing with regard to COVID research, in part. And they were trying to get a deal with this mask manufacturing facility in British Columbia to have them infuse ostrich antibodies into masks as part of all this, to kind of cash in on, I think, a lot of government money that was flying around when the pandemic began. This is the interview I did just a couple of days ago. And I know a lot of you, was at the end of the program. A lot of you didn't see it. A couple of people have asked to see it again. Here it is now.
Hello.
Hello. Who am I speaking? Hello. Hi there.
Hi. How's it going? Who's this?
My name is Rick Walker. I'm out in Ontario. Is this Breathe Medical Manufacturing?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Breathe Medical Manufacturing. Wow, that's been out of business for a while.
Oh, they're not in business anymore.
No, not even at all. Yeah.
Oh,
Are you looking for someone there?
Well, I'm looking for. I understand they were manufacturing, I guess, medical masks with infused with ostrich antibodies.
No, yeah, I was part of that world at one point. Yeah, they talked about it at one point, but it never ever happened.
I see. Yeah, I'm a
Yep.
journalist out here in Ontario. I've been covering this universal ostrich
thing here?
farm thing. Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
weird.
I know about that.
Weird story.
It is a weird story. I actually know that farm. That was the farm we were going to use. Yeah.
Why didn't they do it? I guess probably because they didn't have like regulatory approvals in place and so on.
That's right. I can tell you exactly why. Like, it was COVID. They had never done it before. There was no Health Canada approval on anything that they were claiming at the time. There were some studies from overseas or something like that they were talking about. But ultimately, like, how safe do we all feel about spraying stuff on fabrics that are going to be on people's faces, right? So,
right. Yeah.
It
seems very like a real stretch to me to make those kinds of claims. And it looked like the company, from everything I'm seeing, they were very focused on making sure they were in compliance with standards and approvals and producing a quality product.
Breathe?
Yes. Yeah.
The ostrich farm.
No, the breathe.
Yeah.
They've got like certifications
Yeah.
on like N95 masks and NIOSH respirators and so
Totally.
on. But anyway,
that's right. Yeah, we did all that stuff, and then we had to just shut her down. And the government didn't want to keep it going anymore, so it's been out of business for at least a couple of years.
I see. I thought they were still in business because there was this letter of intent that was filed in court, and your letter of intent to purchase the antibodies, which I guess just never actually ended up happening.
That's right. Yeah, never ended up happening yet.
All right. What was your name? Who am I speaking with, by the way? Because this number.
Yeah. So it's probably still on the website. They were kind of getting it taken down. My name is Justin Singh. I was the the chief operating officer there, so oversaw the whole operation at one point.
I see.
But ultimately, the owners just couldn't get any deals to get to place with the government that they had stated that were going to be in place for 5 to 10 years. That never happened. So then we just had to shut it down.
I see.
Couldn't get any procurement outside of COVID.
The whole thing out there at that farm right now seems very strange to me. How did you guys get connected with the farm?
They showed up. They showed up at the factory claiming all of these things that could really help aid the fight against COVID. So they came to seek this out, which they were very close to, the location-wise, to where we were going to manufacture in Kelowna.
Yeah, but
so I believe that farm's not very far away.
Yeah,
a couple hours.
But in the end, they just couldn't prove any of that because they just didn't have the proper studies.
Yeah, and Health Canada made it very well known to us that it would be stuck in research for a long time before we could ever get it approved to be used.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well,
pretty. Yeah. It's pretty aggressive of them to be claiming all those things without any Health Canada.
Well, for credit,
studies
I heard the one lady on another stream, and I did speak to her, Katie Pasitny, and she was on another show saying that you could prevent measles with ostrich antibodies, and I can't find even one study related to that.
No, we couldn't find much either, but they were just under the impression that these ostriches were able to fight off all different types of diseases and bacteria and viruses, and it had to do with their genetic makeup and antibodies that they carried. And I think there's a lot of assumptions to their theory, right? So it costs a lot of money and time to get those types of scientific studies done, right? So I don't know if you've ever met them. They're just kind of countryside farmers, right? So
yeah,
they're definitely far from being Harvard research students or any of that kind of stuff, right? So
yeah, I guess you've been kind of taking note of what's going on out there. It's seems very political to me more than scientific at this point.
And you would think so when all the names that you're seeing are all involved all of a sudden, right? So
yes. Is there
an interesting thing?
Yeah. So as I follow this story along, is there any advice or direction you might give me to try to make sense of what's going on out there?
Oh, any advice? Nah, I don't know. It's just you know the old theory, like it's very hard to convince people of something that they've just made real. I think the owners of the farm just truly believe in stuff that's not scientific, right? So
Yeah, like they have a lot of people out there who believe viruses don't exist.
that's right. So there'd be more part of that. COVID is a this and COVID is a that kind of theory based stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. We would have been using ostrich antibodies many years ago if it really worked or was scientifically proven.
Yes.
Sure, everybody studied everything, right? So
yeah, exactly.
just
Well,
like
listen,
a small little farm that had, I think at that time, like 10 or 15 ostriches.
they
I
only
think
had
got
10 or
100 now
15
or something.
ostriches at that time?
Yeah, there wasn't very many. There wasn't this 100 or 200 they got now or whatever they got.
Well, they say like 400. Well,
Is it that many? Shoot.
That's what they say, but I don't see that many out there.
Yeah, we went to the farm. It was, well, maybe there was more than 15. Maybe there was less than 50, but there was no like Jurassic Park run around of ostriches. Like there was not hundreds of them.
Well, that's the thing, though. Like there seems to be discrepancy or confusion over, well, there just seems to be an accounting issue. Like they can't even really.
No,
How many?
I think that boils down to who you're dealing with as the ownership there, right? So
yeah, and you know the other issue is it just doesn't seem, as CFIA has pointed out in the court documents, they're not really running a facility that meets the standard for any kind of real research.
that's right. That's right. That's for sure.
And ultimately,
or I don't even know if it's up to standard for any type of practice outside of just like, you know, some type of, you know, personal farm that they're running, right? Like I don't know if it's certified for anything. So I don't know.
Exactly
I haven't been there since 2020, right? So it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Like I don't even think they can even retail or sell off those ostriches or do anything with anything. Though there's no certificates or licensing to do anything on that farm. But who knows? I just caught wind of it and I was like, oh shoot, I've been on that farm. I know those people.
So when, I mean, they're sitting there saying these birds are worth, I think they're saying they have a value of 7,500. CFIA is offering to pay them like $3,000 a pop, but I don't see that they're even worth anything because they've been injected with these antigens that they say they've been getting from, well, multiple sources to research COVID. Plus, they've been infected with bird flu.
Yep.
How do you sell those for food at this point? You can't. I don't know.
Cannot.
Yeah, you can't.
Cannot do that. Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, it's one of this again, right? The value is in what the market says, not what you think, right? So
that's exactly right. And whether you can even sell them to anybody legally,
that's the biggest thing, right? Is if you do want to get some type of recoup on investment, you got to have all the right things in place to sell it. You can't just go sell it. You can't put them on Facebook Marketplace and sell them, right? So.
Well, they do.
They're live animals.
They do.
Well, I know they do. That's why I said that. Yeah, they're interesting people, right? So they probably don't live by the law very closely. So
no rules out there. That's really what it comes down to. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they live way out in the sticks there, right? So
yeah,
not many people pop in there, and not many people bother them there. So they can probably do what they want with lots of time. And I don't know where they have their money from. They don't strike me as very wealthy people.
Well, there's some questions about the farm ownership, large debts that they've accumulated,
right?
Legal disputes over the land ownership or the property ownership. Which just adds new layers of intrigue to this mystery. Yeah,
that's not surprising. That's for sure.
Well, yeah. So I'm with Maverick News is the my news platform, and as I say, I'm a journalist out here in Ontario, but I've been following this story out of the ostrich farm. I'm surprised that other media has not, taken note of the COVID research, the real issues surrounding all of this. It's just save the birds, save the birds. It's become an emotional thing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's what you got to tack onto, right? Is what's going to actually grab some interest. No one's going to care about the other stuff.
Yes, that's exactly right. But when you're dealing with the bird flu and the spread of the disease and other chicken operations, I think that they're putting other farms in jeopardy while they're claiming to be out there fighting for farmers, but it seems to be upside down.
Yeah, it's strange. Well, all the best to you.
Well, thank you very much for your comments and your information. I really, really appreciate you providing some clarity on this for me today. Very, very helpful.
No problem. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, I've actually got the, I just shared with you the letter of intent that his company provided.
Yeah.
Which was, it's something, it's really interesting listening to what he was saying. It was sounding like he never believed in him. It was a bit of almost a joke.
Oh, yeah.
And then he also, he talks about how the government shut his business down, which was an interesting comment. Because
the funding wasn't continued after COVID, the market collapsed, right? So,
in OH&S, there's still lots of demand for masks, and actually, because of COVID, there's a lot more than there used to be. So, he also said Health Canada was aware, and that place would be stuck in studies for years. Now, and then he says, how would they get money? Well, one of the ways that you can get money, you can con investors, is by showing them a letter of intent that shows lots and lots of money. This company, obviously had some government contracts to do masks, certainly for the start, gave them a letter of intent that was effectively worth between $3 and $18 million a month. They said, we want the ability to supply between 10 million and 60 million masks a month, and you'll get 30 cents a mask. I can see a lot of investors coming and running and going, I want to get a piece of that action up front. Even banks will actually, particularly in COVID, where at that time in May of 2020, it was real hard to check facts. So there was an awful lot of things happening just on the face of it. Ironically, you could get life insurance easier during COVID with no COVID exclusion in 2020 than at any other time. You didn't have to have a medical because they couldn't send a nurse out to do a medical on you. So there was a lot of things happening. So it's actually quite possible that they could have actually leveraged some investors or money, maybe some powerful people who now want a return on their investment. And it ain't going to happen. I don't know. It's just,
not that we have any evidence of that. There's, on this particular farm, we do know that Dave Belinsky, the other co-owner, I think it's his cousin, had another ostrich farm, and they did have an investment thing going on out there, and they ended up in court over that. And I think there was some $20 million that investors lost as a result, cumulatively, and there were a lot of elderly people that lost their retirement savings, and life savings.
And those ostriches are at the ones that survived and the ones that still survive. A lot of them, the older ones, over 20 years old, are the ones that are actually at Universal Ostrich Farm. Or again, that was something else that Stephen Pellet kept getting wrong yesterday. He kept calling them a different name. He didn't actually know what the name of the farm was, which for somebody who spent a lot of time there. And it's interesting when you get the mask manufacturer saying it was all nonsense. You shouldn't be spraying stuff on masks, which asked me, why did he write a letter of intent? But whatever. But,
I can understand why. It's because they show up and they see this research going on. They say they're connected to the university in Japan. And so, of course, you signed the letter of intent, but that's not to say that you saw, it didn't actually go through. But it's like, okay, well, we'll sign this, and then we're in on the ground floor, and we've got this option if this pans out to be something. But in the end, they visit the farm, and then they find out, hey, this place is not a proper facility for any kind of research. This isn't valid science at all. This is all a bunch of BS. So we're not paying you. They didn't pay them anything. They got nothing out of it in the end. It's just a big,
I'm pretty sure that was the same with the vaccine manufacturer.
Yes,
they were, which was, that's the other one from the court documents. It's interesting that they're putting these these things into court. Making COVID vaccines, making COVID masks, and none of it was covered. None of it was, Health Canada doesn't seem to be involved, but then people are saying they are. But you've got their expert, Stephen Pellick, saying these are all a great idea. These are all wonderful, and even the mask stuff, completely contradicting the company that was making masks, that their business was this, and them saying it's just never going to happen. And yet he's saying, oh, it's a great idea, which makes me question either his intent or his skills. One of the two. That disconnect is just too wide. And it's these things that are these connections, these facts, the involvement of people in very high places that seem to have got beyond just this, as what did he call them, a hillbilly type venture,
small farm operation.
That he wasn't even sure they should be selling food from that farm. And who knows? I mean, if they're not licensed for everything else.
And he took note that they were selling the ostriches as food on Facebook, which you pointed out, but pretty clear that he.
I did that one as well.
It's pretty clear that he they may have been doing this on Facebook much earlier than we were aware. Like you pointed it out, he pointed it out, but I think they were doing it all along, selling this stuff on Facebook outside the parameters or the oversight of any kind of regulatory.
Well, we found posts, particularly for the eggs, right the way through COVID, all the way up to 2024. The court documents talk about them selling ostrich fat, which again, you don't squeeze an ostrich for that and then it runs off. I mean, you've got to kill the bird to get that. And that's in the court documents they filed, saying they were still selling that in December of 2024. And they were, they don't seem to have ever stopped working as a farm, selling their dog foods and oils and cosmetics and everything else, while they were running a complete research type environment. And that becomes a question of, people keep saying Katie didn't know. She's using the wrong words, Stephen Pellick says. She doesn't really know what she was doing.
Then she shouldn't be doing it.
Well, that's even more worrying is, so she was getting stuff from this guy in Japan who's known and admitted to have been experimenting with all the viruses Jay Bhattacharya just mentioned, of if one of those got out, that's the sort of stuff that this Sakamoto's been experimenting with. And he was flying people over to inject the birds. Katie has no idea it was. Stephen Pellick keeps saying, well, I've read the documents. Yeah, we've all read the documents, Stephen. And, you can't actually give an opinion of what was actually happening unless you were there. All we can do is go by what they keep saying they were doing. And Katie has described everything from COVID vaccines and variants, which was the latest one there that they were actually trying to get around yesterday with the Shadow Davis show, because that had blown up on them, the CBC video, which somebody posted a screenshot of a screenshot of a screenshot, so it was a really poor quality. So I just went and had a look is it still up there? And yeah, it's still up there. It's on CBC. You can see it. It's the wildfire video, and in it you can. I mean, I've got it queued here if you want, so you can. People can just go look for it. Let me just. I just clipped the bit that was relevant. Let me share that. Okay, 2021.
And we're kind of burying the lead here actually tonight, because the reason David is on is because with him posting all this information on his Twitter account or X account, you've been banned, right? Like they took your account down?
Completely. Just, it is gone. For having an inauthentic account, they've confirmed that somebody made a complaint. There was a targeted attack to shut me down. And the allegation is that I was an inauthentic account. I'm a bot. I mean, I've had the account since 2009. I'm a retired police officer. I'm a forensic investigator, and I've been doing this stuff for a very, very long time. I mean, it'd be like them saying, your account was a bot. As a journalist, you go, okay, that's a bit insulting. If you're going to accuse me of something, at least do something that's reasonable. But yeah, it's welcome to free speech on Twitter. Apparently, facts are not allowed, particularly in this. I mean, I know my account's been suppressed, as many are that want to tell the truth. If it's not entertainment, then it doesn't get very far. But this was significant, and it's, I've had this account for a very, very long time. I'd actually just spent 2 days working on the Canadian all-cause mortality data. I do every single month. It's a lot of work. It's going through millions and millions of rows of data in 40 different tables, straight from the government of Canada, and then putting them in a form that people can read. It's a 96-page report I put up. And
well, we'll get it. I mean, I don't want to go down that road. We'll save that for another broadcast. But let's get into this here now. Yep. So this is the clip of CBC when this, I guess, was back in 2021, was it? When there were wildfires going through the area and they refused to leave the research farm because they believed, Katie told me she believes that the government was trying to burn them out. So, not paranoid or anything, just whatever.
Yep. So
anyway,
this is an edit by me because it's about a 15-minute video. So it's just the relevant points, but you can, at the bottom of the video, there is the actual link to it, and people can go find it if you just look for Edgewood wildfire, Katie Pasitny, CBC, and you'll find the whole article and the full video.
And as the wildfires continue to burn across the province, I just want to focus on the town of Edgewood, BC. What do you do with 500 ostriches anyway?
Well, we meat, eggs, and ostrich oil, believe it or not, is extremely effective in healing so many different conditions like eczema, psoriasis. And then there's been an antibody program, which is the latest and really amazing thing that the farm's been working on. And actually half of this farm is injected with dead COVID-19 vaccine and the COVID variant.
So we're selling meat and eggs and oil, and we've injected the birds with COVID-19 vaccine and variants. This was August 2021. This is on CBC.
Yeah. And so she's saying right there that they're still selling the meat.
Yep.
While they're running a research facility, they're selling lab animals into the food chain.
And I'm pretty sure CBC does regular, on-site broadcasts inside level 3 biolabs where they're researching animals. I mean, I'm sure that cameraman probably is now wondering to himself, what was I exposed to while I was wandering around inside the pen? And yet CBC, who broadcast that article, are saying nothing. It's like, I mean, I can't understand why they didn't go, hang on, sorry. When somebody says here, in the middle of 2021, when the vaccines just rolled out, they're in short supply, they're working their way down the age groups, and somebody says, oh yeah, I've got the COVID vaccine and I'm injecting it into these birds. The first question on my mind, if I was a reporter, would be, sorry, where are you getting COVID vaccine to inject birds? I thought they were in short supply. and people needed them. When did we start handing out COVID vaccine to farms to inject their animals?
Or dead COVID virus to inject into your, which is what she said. And why are you, how can you be running a research facility, researching on these birds and then still selling them for people to eat?
Yeah, and actually, so a mum at the same time, Dave Belinsky and Karen Esperson did an interview where Karen said dead COVID-19 virus, but Katie there on that interview says COVID-19 vaccine. And she actually uses the word vaccine, which is, again, they might be mistaken, but that actually brings up more questions, not less. It's like, if you don't know what it was, if you thought it was, one of you thought it was a vaccine, somebody else thought it was a virus, somebody else thought it was a protein, what were you actually injecting these birds with and then selling them for meat? I mean, what really, and assuming, because they've said in the court documents that has been their primary business since 2020 right to now, and the only reason it's not their primary business at the moment is because of the CFAA orders and quarantine. What have they been injecting into these birds for over 5 years?
I don't know.
What really killed those birds? I don't know. But
69 birds died. 69
at least. Well,
at least.
Mean, and then there's a few that slipped on the ice, maybe, and one that ran into a fence, maybe, and then 2 that were shot, maybe. I mean, the numbers rolling up, and the count so we don't know what the exact body count is, and we don't actually know what the exact count of birds are. And again, in that interview, August 2021, she's asked, what do you do with 500 ostriches? So there they were saying they had 500 in August of 2021. That's one of these numbers that just, again, for a research facility, you shouldn't just know how many you've got. You should know everything about every one of them. Just mind-boggling. And I mean, you can see why the CFAA would say they're not suitable for research, but that shouldn't be where the statement ends.
Yeah.
It's
too much strange stuff, and no standards, no licenses, no permits of any kind, as they told us in the interviews that we did. It's just ridiculous, and it's scary.
And this is what happens when you ask questions. An account I've built since 2009. I mean, it's not my only outlet. I've got Facebook, I've got my website, I've got LinkedIn, and people have got direct contact with me in a lot of cases. But Twitter was...
So this is the notice from Twitter saying that your account has been taken down.
Yep. For, of all things, inauthentic behaviors, whatever that is.
Your account, DKS data, was reported. It has been suspended for violating the X rules, specifically for violating our rules against inauthentic behaviors. You may not use our services to engage in inauthentic activity that undermines the integrity of X. Note that if you attempt to evade a suspension by creating new accounts, we will suspend your new accounts. If you wish to appeal the suspension, please contact our support team, which will promptly ignore you.
Yep. Yeah. So I have actually put that in. The funny thing is that there are a bunch of accounts that are currently supporting the farm, where the users have got many accounts that where they've just created one after another. And they're not even trying to hide the fact that they've got lots of accounts, which is against X's rules and is classified as inauthentic, because you can't run multiple accounts all doing different things and all sort of supporting yourself. But apparently it's, as long as you're supporting the farm, that's fine. But the reality is, it's really about somebody reporting you. If somebody snitches, especially if somebody in authority does, maybe a lawyer, or I don't know. I mean, they don't normally shut down accounts just because a random user makes a comment. They'll normally ignore them. They'll check the account and say, but for them to actually just take an aggressive step like this, where it wasn't suspended, it wasn't throttled, It was just my account has been deleted.
Well,
gone.
that's. I'm sorry that's happened to you. It's that kinds of thing has happened to me as well over on Facebook, and that's painful.
It is, because it's you know, it's not where I do my research. It's not where I try and make a difference. But there are people that can. It's their only way of seeing this information. It's their only way of finding out. And as I say to people, don't believe what I post. Just take it and actually use it as a mechanism to go find out yourself. Trust but verify. Well, don't even trust. Just, in everything that I put up, I always put linked references to the source material so people go, if you don't like what I posted, go look at the original. And sometimes particularly when I post charts and numbers and that, people say, well, can you do it this way? And I say, well, there's the link to the raw data. If you want it to look something different, off you go. I don't take requests. I just do what I do. I look for the facts. I package it up in a way that people can understand it, and I get the facts out there. And if somebody's trying to push a false narrative, then I will post the facts underneath it. And for that, you get banned. So we'll see. As I say, I've put in an appeal. I don't expect to hear anything, but who knows? We may, but it won't stop me looking in. Particularly, in fact, when something like this happens, it piques my interest a little bit more, because if you're going to that level to shut down the information, then as you said about the first story of this, you're over the target. And there is something in the information you and I have been putting out here, and Babylon Beaver's been putting out, and some others, and now the local community of Edgewood is getting a bit more bold because they've got the facts to back up their concerns, and they're in their local community posts, but mainly on Facebook, they're actually sharing information. They're still getting hit pretty hard and targeted, and the excuses are coming out. The stories keep getting told, but at some point, somebody's got to end this, because no matter what it is, whether they, these animals have died. There looks to be some sanitary issues in the area of the farm that I certainly wouldn't want my kids near, and yet, there's a big event where they're going to be camping apparently at the end of this month, and then there's the Farm Aid concert they're supposed to be putting on. I don't know how the CFA is going to allow any of that, because at the end of the day, there's a point at which I've got to question the competence of the CFAA in allowing the ongoing and known breaches of quarantine. I mean, you're basically, if you don't do something, you're making a mockery of the quarantine, and you're setting yourself up for other farmers to say, why should I bother quarantining? Because
that's largely what's at stake here. In my view, this is a challenge to government authority, to the authority of the CFIA. If this protest is successful in that way, then it really will undermine trust, confidence in the system, and it will undermine the deterrence factor. So,
and I'm a big believer in, if you see something that you feel is wrong, you should challenge it, but you should do it in a lawful way. And you should, if you do it in a lawful way and you lose, then you lose. Mm-hmm. You don't just go, well, I don't care, the rules don't apply to me. That's a sovereign citizen mentality. That takes us back to the dark ages as far as lawlessness, because the same attitude that says, I don't have to follow these rules, says, well, then why should I follow the rules that relate to your home security? Can't I just come in and help myself out of your fridge, or take your car? Or because they're not really that different. I mean, we may not like the rules, and there are ways to challenge the rules, as they've done. They've had their due diligence. They've had their time in court, and they lost.
Yeah.
The reality is they've, you know, and you could say in some respects, you know, they did more than other farmers have done, but other farmers have realized that there's a reason that these things are in effect, because there is a risk to the farms around them and potentially to the people around them. And that just doesn't, I mean, it's not even like they're fighting and saying, okay, we're going to fight, support us, but while the quarantine is in effect, can you stay away? You know, I'd potentially, I mean, if it wasn't for the research side, I'd potentially respect them for doing that. If they were fighting, you know, and saying, you know, but we are under quarantine, so you need to stay away. But they're not. They're turning it into a circus, or have turned it into a circus. And then you've got the, you know, apparently anybody questioning the farm now who's not a liberal and a hardcore liberal is now what Cheryl Davis calls the woke right.
Is that his new phrase?
That's it. That's a new phrase. So I would be definitely the woke right, because I'm questioning what the farm's saying. You're not allowed to question that. You're woke minded because you're not going along with the glowing masks and the COVID nasal sprays as you should be. It's an upside down world. It really is.
Well, it sure is. Well, I think with all that being said, it's probably time to leave this for tonight. I'm ostriched out, but I'm sure we haven't heard the last of the story, so we better save a little energy, because this is going to continue. I'm sure of that. And David, thank you for all the work you've been doing on this, and thank you for sharing this with us. I'm so sorry that your Twitter account has been suspended. That's not fair. It's not proper, but it shows, I think, that, yeah, you're over the target. So you still have a voice here, my friend, and we will help you get your messages out. So with that, everybody, you know what I'm going to do here is I've got that other song up. Would you agree that they're losing the information war on this? Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's exactly what's illustrated here with this song from Universal Ostrich Studio. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not Maverick and the News Brothers. This is somebody else's creation, I guess Universal Ostrich Studio. So I'll share this with you tonight. Thank you, everybody. Love you guys. Thank See you back here tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern on the flip side.
Universal Ostrich Studios in Edgewood, BC, where the grass grows tall. There's an ostrich farm that shocks us all. Karen, Katie, Dave had a birdie plan. They ran an ostrich biz with a master hand, chopping up their birds, serving up meat for your dog and plate. They even made face cream so you'd look great on your first date. Then one day in 2019, they said, let's go viral on the vaccine research scene. We'll get rich from our scheme, creating vaccine-laced nasal sprays and candies. Won't it be grand to have all that cash in hand? Welcome to Universal Ostrich Studios, where the lab coats fly and the drama grows. They injected hens with a virus load, then 69 birds dropped like stones. So they blamed it on the geese, and now the CFIA's got their sights on the ostriches. But the freedom folks yell, they can't call you. It's wild, it's weird, it's slightly taboo. At Universal Ostrich Studios, they tried to fight COVID with the Convid vax. The birds fought back, but the facts were not true. They came the fake bird flu, knocking at the gate. 2 more dropped and sealed their fate. The government came with clipboards and frowns, said we're shutting this mutant circus down. It's time to cull those injected birds. But the hippies rolled in with tents and flair. Now they're roasting marshmallows in ostrich hair, while the ostriches blink inside their birdcage stage. They got castles bouncing in the quarantine zone, with the volunteers camping out on the lawn. You can jump for justice with your kids in tow. Just show ID so they know where you go. There's drum circles, signs and herbal teas. It's a Wi-Fi powered conspiracy. Free the birds, they shout, let them roam. Just don't breathe near the quarantine zone. The CFIA wants to end the show, but this farm's become the Truman Ostrich Show. Welcome to Universal Ostrich Studios, where logic took off in UFOs. A GoFundMe rages like a wildfire tweet, while birds without hazmat suits march to the beat. Science or satire, nobody knows. Just grab your popcorn and watch the show. At Universal Ostrich Studios, now Karen's in goggles, Katie's in boots, Dave's got a spreadsheet-filled lawsuit. They may not win a Nobel Prize, but they've sure gone viral, ostrich size. So if you're ever in Edgewood, don't be shy. Wave at the birds, no need for N95s. It's Canada's strangest pandemic rodeo. Universal Ostrich Studios. Welcome to Universal Ostrich Studios, where the plot twists harder than UFOs. Welcome to Universal Ostrich Studios, where the line between fact and fiction blows. Drones in the sky, secrets on the ground, and license plates get passed around. 2 birds shot down, but no sound was heard. Is it foul play or just a weird bird? It's chaos, drama, and open toes at Universal Ostrich Studios. So come one, come all, just don't forget your ID. Bounce your kids while debating virology. And if you see Katie with her tearless face, you just entered Canada's weirdest place. Universal Ostrich Studios.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.